Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The world is ruled in many different ways, and many different entities rule in this world. Dictatorships rule in this world. Communism rules in this world. So-called democracy rules in this world. Religions rule in some parts of the world. Monarchies rule in some parts of the world. Science rules. Falsehood rules. Illusion rules. Satan rules. And God rules. Each of these rule in their own specific way and have their own identity, their own way of doing things. For instance, communism rules by the gun. Dictatorships rule by the gun. Do as I say, or the alternative is the gun. Religion rules through certain rules and regulations and separations. It separates man from other men, claiming the superiority of their own group, and it has their own established rules and regulations. Depending on the religion, there's different extents of severity as to whether or not people actually comply with the rules and regulations. So you have religious rule combined with secular rule. They entwine sometimes. Kingdoms are supposed to be ruled through justice and equality. But again, depending on the kingdom, the rule is either just and equal, or it can also be ruled by a gun. Scientists rule their world with the mind, the desire, the intellect, and the visions of the eye. But science is at the end point of intellect. At the end of intellect, science begins. But again, it is involved with certain ways of doing things. Illusion is ruled by mind and desire and the vision of the eye. Falsehood is ruled in the same way as illusion is ruled, by mind and desire and the vision of the eye. But in falsehood, there is also torpor. Torpor is involved in that. Satan rules through anger and jealousy and selfishness and those attributes which are attributable to Satan. God, on the other hand, rules through effulgent love and through kindness and through compassion and through the clarity of effulgent wisdom. We rule our lives in one of these methodologies. We live our life in one of these ways. We go through our life using these tools. And the question is, which tools do we use in living our life? If we use the tools of Satan in living our life, we are a certain kind of being. If we use the tools of illusion, we are a certain kind of being. If we use the tools of dictatorships, we are a certain kind of being. If we use the tools of a just and equitable king, we are a certain kind of being. And if we use the tools of God, then we have the possibility of becoming a godly being. And we have the possibility of becoming one who is entwined with reality, entwined with truth, entwined with God, and becomes a child of God, a son of God, and becomes the one who God gives his kingdom to. In a jungle, there are deer and there are tigers. Now, a deer is a very benign animal, a kind animal who frightens easily, keeps to himself, and keeps out of everybody else's business. Tiger, on the other hand, is constantly on the prowl. And if a deer lives in the jungle, he's subject to that which occurs in the jungle. And what occurs in the jungle is tigers and lions and bears and elephants and the dangers that all of these bring into life. Like that, a good person, if they're entwined with bad people, will end up suffering the difficulties that bad people have. If a good person's friends are all thieves, then he is going to get the portion that thieves get. So until a person who is in the midst of inappropriate people is somehow shown that his inclination has to change towards an inclination towards God, he will be lost, and he will stay lost, and he will be subject to all that happens to those who are not inclined towards God. As you can see from what I'm trying to explain, there's one path for man, and that path is towards God. Yet man finds so many different ways. Man finds so many different ideas. Man falls in love with so many different institutions. Man falls in love with political parties. Man falls in love with his religion. Man falls in love with his work. Man falls in love with his education. But how many men fall in love with God? How many men fall in love with the direct association with their Lord, with the understanding that that path is free of separation, free of differences, free of mine, yours, his, or ours, that it is individual and it belongs to everyone. In the levels of consciousness, intellect is the highest consciousness in man. Beyond intellect is judgment. And this fourth state of consciousness, judgment, begins to decipher that there's a difference between man's world and God's world, between the unreal world and reality. But intellect doesn't decipher God. You have to skip over intellect to decipher God. So the scientist is at the end of intellect. He's at the highest point of intellect. And he pulls things out of this world using his intellect. But let's look at what the scientist pulls out of the world. The things that the scientist pulls out of the world using his intellect are very dangerous, capable of destroying the world, because the scientist has not gotten to the godly level. The scientist is creating things from the elements that are incredibly dangerous to man. And we're all aware of them. We're aware of what nuclear power may do to man. And nuclear power is discovered at the end of intellect. And it's discovered from the elemental forms that the scientist deals with. And the elemental forms have great power and great beauty. You can take an electric current that you pull out of the elements and light 1,000 bulbs with it. And these bulbs make a beautiful appearance. But this same electric current that lights all of these bulbs can kill you, because it was brought out of the earth without godliness. It was just brought out of the earth through scientific method, which is without God. Nothing that you touch that comes from God will harm you. Nothing that you touch that was created by God will harm you. The divine will not harm you. The divine will allow you to progress and grow and become more. The divine will always be beneficial to you, yet the objects that are pulled out of the elements by science may or may not be beneficial. They may be destructive, and often they are destructive. Man has a tendency to believe in science, and as he believes in science, he loses his belief in God, because he thinks man does the creation, when in truth, what the scientist is doing is using the creation in his limited capacity to do things with it. He's not creating it, he's using it. But unless man understands that, then man loses the comprehension of godliness. And so there's all kinds of reasons that man loses the comprehension of godliness. And as time goes forward and our scientific accomplishments appear to have become greater and greater, man is more and more likely to lose his way in truth. So he'll find his way in science, and he'll find his way in the creations of science, but he'll also lose his way in the qualities that are God's and in the qualities that are the ones that will take you to truth. Science can show you great beauty, and science can show you many wonders, but science will never show you love. Science will never show you compassion. Science will never show you mercy. It's not like that. We have to understand it. We also have to understand that within us are good and evil. And if we choose the method of Satan for ruling our lives, we allow the evil to come out of us. If we choose the method of God's qualities to rule our lives, then we suppress the evil within us. And there's in Hindu mythology, there's a story of a cobra who continues to suppress the venom within him and continues to suppress the venom within him. And this act of suppression of the venom within him turns the venom into jewels in his mouth. And it's like that with man. If man can suppress the venom within him, this can be turned into light. The act of suppression of evil is a positive act. The act of suppression of that which is inappropriate is a positive act. And the forces that prevail in that suppression create within you the ability to transcend your normative state and enter into a light state. So understand that when you struggle with yourself, this struggle is an act that can help you transcend the evil within you to the point where it becomes light within you. And if you can find that light, then you can become those who are among the ones who have made their home in Allah's kingdom. In order for the son to become the true son of the Father, he has to know the Father. And when Allah placed man into this world, he placed man as his most exalted creation. He placed man as the highest creature that he made, and he gave unto man many gifts. He gave him darkness, but he also gave him the beauty of his own form and shape, and he also gave him all of his treasures. And man has to make the choice to choose between what he's been given. Some men find darkness and stay within that realm. Some men look for that which is light. And Allah says that it is up to us to find the light that is the light of divine wisdom. If you take a convex magnifying glass and hold it in front of the sun, and you've got some cotton underneath of it or kindling, over time, you'll start a fire. But what if there is clouds and there is no sun? You have to find, each of us has to find a direct connection with that light that is eternal and that cannot be hidden. And this light exists within wisdom, And we have to be able to comprehend that wisdom and integrate it within our being. Now, we need to believe, understand, and have faith in the fact that wisdom is available to us, and that wisdom is meant to be available to us, and that we can grasp it, and that there can be a change in our being from normative human who stays within the realm of the intellect to superior human, or insan kamil, who goes beyond the realm of the intellect into the realm of consciousness that is divine. We as humans are meant to have consciousness that is divine. We are not meant to be limited to intellectual consciousness, which is animalistic. We are meant to go beyond it. And it is when we go beyond animalistic consciousness that transcendent qualities are possible. To forgive, we have to go beyond animal consciousness. To be able to understand the limitations of others and the mistakes that they've made, and not be offended because of pride, and not be offended because of what they've done to us, takes us to a transcendent state. Allah has no enemies. Allah has no one who he is at odds with. Allah loves each and every one of his creations. We need to learn and to understand how to take the steps beyond normative interaction in this world to transcendent interaction in this world. Why are we involved in meetings like the one we're involved in at this moment? Because we don't want to be limited by what we are shown in most of the world. If we travel through the world, we will find that the world, for the most part, is a place of egocentric ideas and egocentric actions where men act out of their own self-interest, out of their own self-motives. The world of religion, which is supposed to be a world of transcendence, for the most part, is a club. And depending on what part of the world you are born in, that club is either Christianity or Islam or Hinduism or Judaism or one of the other religions. And then within that club, you have separated yourself from every other club. So unity of all mankind becomes something that isn't spoken of. What is spoken of is the methodology of using the religion that you have, which makes you somehow special. And what I have found is that people don't work on who they are. They believe that the fact that they belong to this club is their answer to salvation. And this is one of the big difficulties that the world faces. You have all these people believing that that joining their club or belonging to their club is a methodology for salvation. There's nothing that needs to be done by man. It's already done for you. The club exists. Join the club. You're saved. this silliness leads to wars, leads to murders, because it makes others less than you because they're not in the club. But if the truth is shown, and if the truth is revealed, and if light comes and opens up reality and shows reality to man, it shows him that there are no clubs. There's only man and God and the relationship between man and God. The prophet told his daughter Fatima that at the time of reckoning, it's not going to matter that you are the daughter of the prophet. It's going to matter as to what your personal qualities were. Imagine, the prophet said that to his daughter. So imagine the application towards everyone else. The point is that there is an equality among all of us in that way. What is our relationship with God, and what have we done to establish our relationship with God? What is it that we do? God's vibration exists everywhere and is available to everyone. But in order to be able to be attuned to that vibration, you have to give up everything that is contrary to that vibration. God is unity. If we are not in unity, if we can't accept all of humanity, then we can't accept that vibration because it is inimical to who we are. My teacher said often, that which separates me from my fellow man separates me from God. So we have some basic ideas that we have to overcome. We have some basic understandings that we have to accept into our lives. And if we don't accept these basic understandings, we are precluding ourselves from our rightful inheritance, which is God's kingdom. God isn't precluding us from that inheritance. We are precluding ourselves from that inheritance because we choose the world over choosing transcendence. We choose power in the world over choosing transcendence. We choose status within the world over choosing transcendence. We choose our religion over choosing transcendence. We become in love with all of the things of this world that have not transcended. And because we hold on to all of these things that have not and cannot transcend, we have put ourselves in a position where we cannot transcend. So we have to find that which is eternal. We have to search for that which is eternal. We have to understand that which is eternal. And we have to understand the unity that exists within that which is eternal. So if we deny unity, we deny transcendence. But transcendence can't be denied. All we do is separate ourselves from transcendence. Allah wants us to know him. Allah wants us to come to be integrated with him. Allah wants us to become godly in our nature. And to become godly in our nature, we have to pick up the qualities that are godly. And if we do not pick up the qualities that are godly, then we do not understand truth, and we preclude ourselves from truth. Haq means reality, and it means the way. And all other ways are inappropriate. But Haq is often translated as your own religion, as opposed to the truth, that one truth that is overriding for all of humanity. When we try to understand the reality of existence, we are explained that for us to know truth, we have to surrender to truth. And for us to surrender to truth means that we have to be willing to give up everything that we held on to prior to surrendering to truth. So there is this point that we come to in our intellect when we have to make the jump into that consciousness that is beyond animalistic, into that consciousness which is insan kamo, or true humanity, that consciousness that is beyond being constantly involved in the egocentric ideas of the world. I, me, mine. I control this. I have this. I understand this. To jump that chasm, it's a difficult thing to do for man. And man is afraid because he has lived his entire life in the world of I, in the world of ego, in the world of self-motive, in the world of self-aggrandation, in the world of doing things for the self. The sheikh is an example of what happens after this jump is made. The sheikh sits there and works on behalf of other people. The sheikh sits there and gives unto other people and does not ask for anything in return. The sheikh's joy comes when he sees the transcendence in the ones who sit in front of him and who change from being individuated to being unified into all of creation. There's a story of a tree that sits in an open space, and it's a very, very big tree. And in this tree are fruits that when they are ripe, they have 70,000 different tastes. But the tree also has many branches, and it also has many leaves, and the tree also has many buds and many flowers and many unripe fruits, and unripe fruits in various progression towards becoming ripe. And there's a sign on this tree that says, there are delicious fruits here, and all are welcome to partake of them. So all creations come towards this tree. Some look at the tree and they shake the trunk and they get nothing and they walk away. Some climb to the branches and they sit on some of the branches and they see nothing there and they walk away. Some find a bud and they take a bite of the bud and it's bitter and they walk away. Some see the flower and they take a bite of the flower and they walk away because it doesn't taste good. Some find unripe fruits and they see the bitterness within the unripe fruit and walk away. But then there are some who understand that with ripeness comes fragrance, and they look for the fragrance on the tree to find the ripe fruit, and they continue to climb until that fragrance hits them. And when that fragrance hits them, they go towards where it came from, and they find that ripe fruit. God is like that. You have to find his fragrance. You have to find his mercy. You have to find his compassion. You have to find his truth. If you are looking in places where anger exists and where jealousy exists and where separations exist and where religions exist, you're not going to find that fragrance and you're not going to find that fruit. And therefore, you will never become satisfied in the way that one who finds the truth is satisfied. You'll begin to believe that it doesn't exist. So we have to steer up our courage. We have to steer up our faith. We have to be strong in the belief that this does, in fact, exist. And we will, in fact, find that fragrance. And that fragrance will take us to that place where truth exists, because we will find and begin to understand compassion. We will find and begin to understand mercy. We will find and begin to understand justice. And we will integrate all of these within us. And then we will find a guide. And that guide, through what he has gone through, has developed the ability to give unto us that which he has. And that which he has is the fact that he has transcended. And he can pass on that station of transcendence to us so that we also can do what he does and move on in the way that he moves on, to find our Father and become the true children of God and be worthy of sharing in the kingdom of God. May Allah, may God make it so that there's an invitation to each of us to find that true path, to find that true way, to find that inclination to find truth, to not have sorrow, to not give up, to not become depressed, to not become to the point where we don't believe in the truth of his existence, that we continue in our faith to go stronger and stronger and stronger until that fragrance wafts to us. And through that fragrance, we become close to that truth, and we become close to that place beyond intellect where we enter into the realm of true man, and true man is godly man. So may it be that we all become godly men. Ameen. Ameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.